Good morning, everybody. I'm out here doing my Pinterest project for the week, and this project I've only seen it on YouTube one other time. I'm sure it's been on other sites and stuff, but the only other place I've seen it is Darren over at East Woodland Survival. He did this. What I'm doing is taking some Coke bottles or some water bottles, Coke bottles, and what I'm going to do is make is cut off the tops, cut this part off the top right here, and I'm going to make a salt and pepper shaker, or you can make a pill bottle out of them. And let me get started and I'll show you what I'm doing. Okay, for this part right here, all you need is a hacksaw, or any kind of saw would probably work, and some sandpaper or a file. A file would probably work good too. And anyway, what you're going to do is you're going to come to the rim right here. Let me show you. You're going to come to the rim right here, right up under the ring. And this rim right here, you're going to cut it off as close as you possibly can, right to the rim right there. And that way you ain't got to do a lot of sanding. So let me get this started. I've already started this, and so that way I ain't dragging it on. And you're just going to cut this top off. Okay, once you get that, you probably have to break it right here. The next thing you're going to do is you'll see that there's going to be a little lip right there. No matter pretty much what you do, you're going to have that lip right there. Okay, what you're going to do is you want to sand that lip off and sand this as level as possible to the larger ring right here, where the cap seal falls down on. You're going to sand that as much as you can and get it as flat as possible. Now I'm going to tell you the truth that a file would work good. A Dremel tool with a sanding drum on it, or even a grinder or something like that will sand that off real fast. Okay, so let me show you this. Okay, I've already done two. Okay, now I used a Dremel tool, and I've got them flat right here. You want these two parts as flat as possible. Let me see if I take the tops off, you may be able to see it a little bit better. Okay, you can see where it went inside, but that ain't gonna hurt nothing. Okay, and you can see that it's ground off flat. Maybe you can see it right there. I'm gonna go up and down so maybe you can see how flat. Now what you're gonna do is you want to make sure that these two caps will fit flush right around this ring right here. Okay, and I say I used a Dremel tool and flattened them. That's how I did it. Because otherwise you'll be out here sanding for a while. Even a file would work great. But the first ones I did, I actually used a file. Well, I started off with sandpaper, and I seen that sandpaper was going to take me forever. So then I got a file, and I used the file, and I was able to do the first one with a file, and then the second one I did mostly with a file, and I said heck with this, and I went and got my Dremel tool, and I just flattened it out with my Dremel tool until I knew they were flat. Okay, I'm gonna stop it right here, then I'm gonna bring you back and show you the next part. Okay, y'all just hold tight, I'll be back in a little bit. Okay, so once you got all your lids sanded down, the next part of the project that you're going to need to do, you're going to need a piece of plastic if you're going to make a two compartment case. Then you're going to need a piece of plastic. What I've got here is just a piece of milk carton. You want one that's smooth. You don't want no plastic that's got the little rivets in it or little bubbles or anything like that, and you want it as smooth as possible. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a pencil and I'm gonna draw an outline on my plastic, and you want this as close as possible to being right, or being smooth around the edges, and that way it won't catch. And I get that done. And I reckon a lot of this stuff ain't got to be perfect, but just makes it look better and makes it seal a little bit better. Also, you can either take an X-Acto knife and cut around this, or take a pair of scissors and cut it, which is what I'm going to do. Might have been better to use like a Sharpie or a magic marker or something like that to have marked your circle. You could see it better, but I'm perfectly fine. I've got an overhead light or desk lamp that's shining on here, and the main reason why I do that is so that way it makes it easier for y'all to see. Okay, once you got your circle cut, the next thing you're going to need is some epoxy. In my case, I'm using a Loctite. This Go2 glue. To me, it works real good as long as you put it on kind of thick, and I'll get that done. You want to take the lids off before you glue it. I found that the glue sets a lot faster. Excuse me. And anyway, I'm doing 2 sets. I'm going to do one set that's going to be one long case and one double case. So that's the reason why I got 4 lids out here. And so what you want to do, especially with this stuff here, I know they make epoxy that is strictly for plastic, but and I did have some, but if you don't use it after a while, it dries out. So what you're going to do, especially for this one that you're going to make the double compartment out, is you want to put it on pretty thick all the way around the bottom one first. Now that's the reason why I like this Go2 stuff, is it's real it's kind of gooey. If I can get it to come out. Now I know it works because I had it working the other day. Well, guess what? Throw a needle up through there. Make sure that's opened up. Oops. Let me set that over there so it don't get on nothing. So all I need is that to be glued down. There you go. You can kind of see how jelly it is. Okay, you want one solid bead around here. You can't have no gaps when you're doing this double compartment. Okay. So the next thing to do is set your piece of plastic on there, and you're going to try to keep it as uniform as possible. Okay. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the other side, and again try to keep the bead as solid as possible all the way around, and as even as possible too, I should say. Especially if you're going to use put any kind of liquid or like grainy stuff in here like salt and pepper. You're going to want the bead as close to evenly as possible and solid. A solid bead. Okay. Okay, you're going to see what I'm doing there. And I'm going to go ahead and do this one since I got the glue open. And I know you don't need to watch two of them, but I'm going to go ahead and do two. So I don't want my glue to dry up on me or solidify. Now this glue here, it says to let it set when you're using it on plastic. Let it set for 24 hours. So what I'll do is once I get done here, I'll turn you off and I'll bring you back tomorrow with the finished project and show you some suggestions of what I use mine for. Of course, I mean, you can figure it out. I mean, there's whatever you're wanting to use it for, naturally. Okay. Now, since I'm only doing, since I'm not putting a divider in here, naturally I don't have to put a bead on here. I just got to make sure that these are even. Try to keep your pressure even too, and that way a lot doesn't squeeze out the side. Because this is actually acting like silicone or something where you're putting a seal around it. And there'll be a little bit, even with this jelly or this jelly type glue, there'll be some squeeze outside, but that's perfectly fine. It's not going to hurt nothing. And what I'll do is I found with this stuff here that if I take some weight and put some weight on it and let it sit overnight, it helps seal it a little bit better. Okay, I'll bring you back tomorrow and I'll show you the finished project, and also I'll show you, what I'm going to use mine for. This is the third ones I've made here. So I mean, I've got one already that I've got set up for one of my items I'm going to put in there. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow. Afternoon, welcome back. Okay, so our bottle caps have had a chance to dry now, and I've already filled them with what I'm going to put in them. So I'll just show you real quickly what I put in mine, and we'll go do this real slow. We'll start with this one here, and green and red. So I put on the red side of this one, I put some pepper, some black pepper in this one. And I can't swear that these things should be watertight, but naturally I ain't going to swear to it. It's probably according to what type of epoxy or whatever you use. But I'm hoping it'll be watertight. Now I put salt on this one, salt in this one. Okay. And then this one I put some matches in it. They're not strike anywhere matches, they're regular kitchen matches. And I did put strikers in. I've got the strikers running down the sides, as you can see. Okay, and then this third one that I made this one. This was my first one. This was my experimental one here. I just put my medication in one, just some spare medication, and anyway, on one side of that one, usually when I go out I don't stay out more than 2 nights normally, so I just got enough medicine in it for 2 nights. Then this side all I got is some acetaminophen painkiller or headache medicine. Aspirin, I reckon, is what you want to call it. It's not aspirin, it's the equivalent of Tylenol. Okay, I hope y'all enjoyed this little project here, and I think next week is, if I'm not mistaken, next week I'll be doing a kind of a kit review, and what I'm going to try to do is do an outing, something like a kit review or book review, Pinterest project, and I'm going to try to rotate it every week. And unless I do a project 2 or 3 projects during the week, then I'll post them. But anyway, hope y'all enjoyed this little Pinterest project, and we'll see you next week or as soon as I get back to another video. Y'all take care. Have a great weekend. This is Friday evening. Y'all have a great weekend. I'm going to try to get this loaded here in a few minutes. Bye.